Makinig po tayo ng hearing. Ito lang po. Habang wala mo ng comment. Ito na po yung hearing ngayon. Unang yugto ng hearings ngayong araw.
Bonjour à tous.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to once again welcome everyone here in the courtroom. And Madam Court Officer, if you could please call the case.
Good morning, Madam President, Your Honors. Situation in the Republic of the Philippines in the case of the prosecutor versus Rodrigo Roa Duterte, case reference ICC 0121-0125. And for the record, we are in open session.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I would now like to call upon parties and participants to confirm that the people here in the courtroom are the same as the ones present yesterday. Mr. Prosecutor?
Madame la Présidente.
Good morning, Madam President, Your Honors. There are a few changes in the composition of the OTP team today. I'm here representing the office, as was the case yesterday. Beside me is Julian Nichols, senior trial lawyer. He was here yesterday. I also have Edward Jeremy with me, trial lawyer. Robin Croft, trial lawyer. Ai Do Young, associate trial lawyer. Sylvie Wakam, associate trial lawyer. Loria. And finally, James Miriti, our case manager. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Prosecutor. Legal representatives of victims. Good morning, Madam President. Only one change on our team. We have one change, a defection actually. One of our team members could not be with us actually.
Composition today, and we are once again ably assisted and supported by our Filipino colleagues in the gallery.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Prosecutor, you may now address the court regarding submissions on the merits. It is Mr. Jeremy who will be giving this presentation.
Thank you, Madam President. Your Honours, dear colleagues, my name is Edward Jeremy, and over the next 45 minutes or so, I will focus on some of the evidence that demonstrates Mr. Duterte's responsibility for the crimes charged in counts 2 and 3. My presentation will comprise two parts. Part 1 will focus on the crimes charged in counts 2. And as you know, this count relates to the murders of 14 so-called high-value targets. And part 2 will focus on examples of crimes charged in count 3. And this count relates to murders and attempted murders of 45 victims in the course of barangay or neighborhood clearance operations. First, Your Honours, a brief introduction. As Mr. Nichols made clear yesterday, Mr. Duterte campaigned for the presidency that on the basis that, if elected, he would implement his Davao model of killing on a national scale. And once sworn in as president of the Philippines on the 30th of June 2016, this is exactly what he did. One insider witness explained what applying the Davao model nationwide meant in practice, and this is tab 49. as we see on our screens, evidence channel 2, this witness stated, quote, "It means that he wants to apply how Davao addresses the drug problem in a national scope, the whole country. It means that zero tolerance on drugs. And what I understood is that we have to eliminate, neutralize drug pushers, just as in Davao." And as we've heard, this Davao model also included the payments of rewards for such killings. And as president, Mr. Duterte expanded and replicated this Davao model across the Philippines, working together with many of the same people, his co-perpetrators, following the same plan and using the same methods. On becoming president, Mr. Duterte appointed his co-perpetrators from Davao, a number of whom Mr. Nichols introduced yesterday, to senior positions in the police and the government. And in these high-level positions, Mr. Duterte and his co-perpetrators had authority over thousands of state personnel, including those that formed a national network that the co-perpetrators used to carry out the charged crimes, as Ms. Croft will shortly describe in more detail. And Your Honours, central to this plan to carry out the charged crimes was the formal national anti-illegal drugs campaign in the Philippines. And this campaign was launched through a document titled Command Memorandum Circular number 16, 2016. This was issued by newly appointed PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa on the 1st of July 2016, the first full day of Mr. Duterte's presidency. On our screens, we see the first and last page of this document, and this is tab 112 of our binder. We see that the subject is, quote, PNP Anti-Illegal Drugs Campaign Plan, Project Double Barrel. And we see it is dated the 1st of July, 2016. On the first page, there are a series of supporting references for this memorandum. And the first foundational reference is the quote, pronouncement of President Rodrigo R. Duterte to get rid of illegal drugs during the first 6 months of his term. And yesterday we heard multiple examples of the violent nature of those pronouncements and speeches. If we focus on the last page of this document, page 18, we see that the distribution list comprised the highest levels of law enforcement in the Philippines. And on the right side, we see it signed by Ronald M. De La Rosa, Philippine National Police, the PNP. And Your Honours, we'll look now at some parts of this document which essentially sets out general guidelines for the implementation of this project, Double Barrel. Focusing first on the execution of this project, Double Barrel, we see on in paragraph 5, now on our screens, as follows. The PNP intends to equally address illegal drug problems in the barangays and at the same time pursue the neutralization of illegal drug personalities, as well as the backbone of illegal drugs network operating in the country. And Your Honours will note the use of this word neutralization. While on its face, this word may be open to interpretation, insider witnesses provide evidence that within law enforcement within the Netherlands, within the Philippines, forgive me, to neutralize meant to kill. And notably, one insider witness explained the significance of the use of this word neutralize in this command memorandum, and that's tab 54. And the witness stated as follows, quote, They used the word neutralize to emphasize the kill order of President Duterte, because that is the promise of President Duterte even before the campaign. And Your Honours, the sprinkling of references to human rights in this document should be viewed in this context. Moving on to the concept of operations, this is set out on page 3 of this memorandum as follows, quote, the PMP Anti-Illegal Drugs Campaign Plan, Project Double Barrel, will be conducted in a two-pronged approach, namely Project Tokang and Project HVT. The first prong or barrel, Project Tokang, focused on the clearance of the drug-affected barangays. And this relates to count 3, which I'll discuss shortly in the second part of my presentation. The second barrel, which relates to count 2, was Project HVT, or High Value Target, which I will focus on now. Turning to page 6 of this document, we read as follows. Project HVT is a massive and reinvigorated conduct of anti-illegal drugs operations, targeting illegal drugs personalities and drug syndicates. And as your honours are aware, it was in the course of this project HVT that the prosecution alleges the 14 victims of count 2 were murdered. And many of the high value target victims of count 2 incidents were included in charts and lists that Mr. Duterte showed during public, often televised appearances and speeches. And just as he did in Davao, as president, Mr. Duterte publicly named persons he alleged were involved in drugs, and many of those would end up as victims in his so-called war on drugs. For example, on the 7th of August 2016, Mr. Duterte held a televised press conference in Davao City, during which he named 150 public officials who he claimed were involved in the drug trade. These included Abrera Mayor Rolando Espinosa and Osamis Mayor Reynaldo Parahinog, as well as various members of the Parahinog family. This speech is at tab 31, and we'll play 2 clips of that now.
Reynaldo Parahinog, alias Andong, the mayor of Osamis City. Nova Princess Parahinog Chavez used to be the wife of, I think, Colangco. Yung poster boy doon sa blandi-blandi pambuhok. Hindi naman, tisoy. Alam mo, baskin sa'yo magpunta, abangan ko kayo. Kasi wala na ako sa presidency, habang may baril ako.
Wherever you go, I will be waiting for you, even if I'm no longer president, as long as I have a gun. And indeed, as your honours are aware, Mr. Duterte did not need to wait long. On the 5th of November 2016, Mayor Espinosa was murdered. That's charged incident 13. Then, on the 30th of July 2017, Mayor Parahinog, together with a number of others, was also murdered. That's charged incident 14. And during the same speech that we just saw, Mr. Duterte emphasized his direct involvement in the preparation of this list as follows.
Third, the validation. I'm the one reading it, and I am the sole person responsible for this all.
And this list was subsequently published by the media, who referred to it as the narco list, or as we see from the article on our screens, simply the Duterte list. And Your Honours, Mr. Duterte continued to flaunt his list of so-called high-value targets. Perhaps the most significant of these lists was the President Rodrigo Roa Duterte list, or the PRRD list for short, and that's at tab 48 of our list of materials. Your Honours, this was basically an Excel-style spreadsheet that listed persons alleged to be high-value targets. The slide now on our screen shows the first page of the PRRD list, which includes photos of various persons designated alleged to be high-value targets. And at the bottom of this list are a series of different tabs, some of which have been enlarged on our screens. And as we see, they include different regions of the Philippines. And within these tabs are lists of names and identifying information of persons alleged to be high-value targets. And the persons included in this PRRD list were also assigned different levels, as set out in our PCB, in our brief, paragraph 99. As we see from the slide now on our screens, these levels range from 1 to 5. At the lowest level 1, this included lower level government and police, as well as street level pushers. And at the highest level 5, this represented the highest value targets: drug wholesalers, financiers, and high-ranking police officers. And consistent with the Davao model of killing, rewards were also paid when a high-value target was neutralized, meaning killed. And this evidence is set out at paragraphs 52 and 99 of our brief. And these rewards were not part of the regular PNP budget, but were provided by Mr. Duterte, who also publicly offered perpetrators rewards for killing. Your Honours, to sum up the significance of the PRRD list, I turn to the words of another insider witness, and this is tab 54. Quote, "This list was used by the police in their operations. And if you are in the list, you will be the subject for police operations. And most of the time, the people on the list are killed. So basically, the PRRD list is a dead list." And Mr. Duterte publicly paraded this PRRD list on multiple occasions. For example, during another televised speech on the 2nd of February 2017, tab 111, he stated the following.
This is the drug industry of the Philippines.
And in this same speech, we'll shortly see Mr. Duterte holding another page of this PRRD list, reacting to criticisms based on human rights in relation to his so-called war on drugs.
Tapos sabihin mo lang ako, takot-takutin mo ako ng human rights. Pakain ko ito, bunganga nila. Oh.
And Your Honours, on this issue of human rights, as Mr. Nichols explained yesterday, during his speeches in Davao, Mr. Duterte, well versed in the law, would occasionally seek to legitimize his encouragement of state violence by references to human rights and self-defense. And he continued to do so as president. For example, as we will see in the next clip, during a speech on the 20th of September 2016, which is at tab 130, he stated the following.
Pagka bumunot, patayin mo. Pag hindi bumunot, patayin mo rin. Oh, tangin. Para matapos na. Eh, kaysa mawala pa bro. Ako na ang bahala sa inyo. Itaga ninyo ito sa puso ninyo. for as long as I am the president. Nobody but nobody, no military man or policeman will go to prison because they perform their duties. Ako ang mapakulong sila. Sabihin mo lang, utos ni Mayor yun.
So that was Mr. Duterte's message to the military and to the police. Kill, whether or not your target pulls a gun, and I will protect you. And Your Honors, as we will now hear during the same speech, in case there was any doubt, Mr. Duterte made it very clear that this promise of protection related not only to lawful killings.
For as long as there is that power to pardon sa Konstitusyon, yan ang weapon ko against crime. Magmasakir kayo na 100, di ba, 100 din kayo, edi pardon lahat eh. Restored to full political and civil rights, plus a promotion to both.
And Your Honors, as was so often the case, Mr. Duterte's message was repeated and amplified in the media, as we see in the next slide, which is tab 88, which reads as follows, quote, Duterte to troops, massacre criminals, I'll promote you. With the byline, in the same speech, Duterte tells soldiers he will never order them to do anything illegal. And this was the pattern, Your Honors. Out of one side of his mouth, quietly, occasionally, he would speak about self-defense. This was Mr. Duterte, the lawyer, keenly aware of his own legal jeopardy, especially once he was no longer president. And out of the other side of his mouth, loudly, frequently, he would say, kill, and I will protect you, I will pardon you, and I will promote you. And this was Mr. Duterte, the strong man president who orders the murders of drug lords and alleged criminals. And as the charged incidents demonstrate, Mr. Duterte's co-perpetrators, as well as the police on the streets, understood his message to kill loud and clear. As an example, Your Honors, I'll focus briefly now on incident number 13. You'll recall that on assuming his presidency, Mr. Duterte publicly expressed his frustration with mayors who he alleged were involved in the drug trade, including Mayor Espinosa. On the 1st of August 2016, he gave Mayor Espinosa, then Mayor of Albuera, 24 hours to surrender to the police. And the following day, Mayor Espinosa did surrender to PMP Chief Ronald Bato de la Rosa. In a public speech on the 5th of August 2016, Mr. Duterte stated the following in reference to Mayor Espinosa's surrender, and this can be found at tab 129.
Problema niya ay yung mayor ng Albuera. Mabuti, nakaabot siya doon kay Bato na pinahanap ko, shot on sight, parang aso. Eh, ang tingin ko talaga sa inyo, kayo, parang aso.
And on around the 5th of November 2016, a few months after Mr. Duterte had him tracked down like a dog, Rolando Espinosa was murdered while in detention in Leyte Provincial Jail, together with another man, Raul Yap. According to the PMP's official narrative of this incident, there was a shootout between Espinosa and Yap and officers who attempted to serve search warrants on them while in prison. By contrast, the evidence demonstrates, as set out in paragraphs 107 to 110 of our brief, that these men were murdered in their prison cells in a coordinated operation involving various state agents. CCTV was disabled, guns were planted in their cells, rewards were paid. And as we see on the slide now on our screens, tab 48 of our list of materials, both Mr. Espinosa and Mr. Yap were included in the PRRD list, amongst other individuals whose names have been blurred by the prosecution. Rolando Espinosa in the upper row is recorded as a mayor and alleged to be a drug lord, indicated as level 4. And Raul Yap in the lower row is also alleged to be a drug lord, listed as level 3. The arrest of both men is noted, and this is shown on the right side. Then separately, it is noted that they were neutralized. And in a further indication that to neutralize meant to kill, as we see here, it is only on the date of their death, the 5th of November 2016, that they were noted as neutralized. Additionally, in the tab of the PRRD spreadsheet labeled high-value targets, now visible on our screens, there is a photo of Mayor Espinosa. He's the person in the yellow t-shirt in the second row on the far right side. As you can see from the enlarged photo, he's been crossed out in red, which, as a witness confirmed, indicates that he had been killed. And if your honors look closely at this list, you'll see it appears to be the same list that Mr. Duterte held during a speech on the 2nd of February 2017. And for reference, these are tabs 48 and 111. And your honors, following these murders, Mr. Duterte continued his public threats. For example, on the 9th of February 2017, he stated publicly that mayors involved in illegal drugs should resign or face death. We'll play an extract of this speech, which is at tab 132 now.
Tatawagin ko yung mga mayors, ilaklo, no, kami-kami lang. Sabihin ko talaga sa kanila. Ayun, ganun kakapal ng pinakita ko sa inyo. Hanapin mo yung pangalan mo dyan, mayor. Tangin na pag nandyan yung pangalan mo, may problema pa. Talagang papatayin kita.
Mr. Duterte's message to the mayors could not be clearer. If your name is in my list, then I'll kill you. And in case anyone watching this speech has any doubt about his intentions, Mr. Duterte goes on to comment on extrajudicial killings. And as he does so, your honors will note the nonchalant, casual manner in which he draws his finger across his throat. Let's play the video.
Wala akong ako talaga ang wala akong maipagyabang. Kaya ginadaan ko na lang sa extrajudicial killing.
And in this opulent, gilded presentation room, the officials laugh along with their president while he boasts about his skills in extrajudicial killing. And outside, on the streets of the Philippines, the bodies pile up. The evidence from one data set shows that as at the date of this speech, 9th of January 2017, almost 1,500 people had been killed in Mr. Duterte's so-called war on drugs. And that's paragraph 73 of our brief. A few months later, in an April 2017 speech, which I won't play, but is a tab 134.2, Mr. Duterte called the deceased Espinosa a, quote, son of a bitch, and after citing multiple allegations of murders by the police, he said he would pardon and reinstate any convicted police officer with a, quote, promotion to ranks higher, end quote. Your Honours, I move now to the second part of my presentation, the murders and attempted murders committed during the barangay clearance operations. And these operations were covered by the first barrel of Project Tokang, which we looked at earlier. We'll briefly return to this document, CMC 2016 and the overview of the two barrels. As the slide on our screen shows, the stated aim of Project Tokang, just focusing on the first sentence, was, quote, accelerating the drive against illegal drugs in affected barangays, end quote. And in practice, Your Honours, this meant murdering some of the most vulnerable members of Filipino society. As witnesses stated, the poor were often targeted because they were the ones least likely to file complaints against the police. To quote one witness on our next slide, he stated, "It was said that the ones that we had to do the Tokang operation on had to be poor. Those who do not have the means to file a complaint or to complain." And similarly, another witness stated the following: "People that were killed or could be killed were the poor, people with no means, simple people who were not able to file charges against them." Your Honours, Project Tokang operations were implemented across the Philippines in a number of ways, as set out in paragraph 75 of our brief. And these operations frequently followed the same modus operandi as we also set out in paragraphs 33 and 114 of our brief, which was as follows. A target was identified, often through the use of lists, such as barangay lists or police station watch lists. The target was then murdered in a police operation. Weapons, drugs, and money, or a combination thereof, were then planted at the crime scene. And then the police reports were repeatedly falsified to legitimate the operations as acts of self-defense. And in this context, as witnesses explain, the police often used the term nanlaban, which translates to fighting back, to describe incidents in which they supposedly shot a victim in self-defense. And these reports were often almost identical. In essence, copy-paste reports in which victims were frequently blamed for their own deaths. And finally, unofficial rewards were paid. Your Honours, I'll briefly focus on a few of the Count 3 incidents to illustrate this pattern. On the day of his inauguration, the 30th of June 2016, then President Duterte held a speech in Tondo, Manila, and he directly addressed the public present, including, as we will see, women and children. For reference, this is tab 127. Let's please play the clip.
Ako po'y galit. Pati yung mga pulis dito sa Maynila nakasabit sa droga. Ako po'y nakikiusap, wag ho kayong pumasok dyan kasi papatayin ko talaga kayo.
As we see, Mr. Duterte's message was clear. Stay away from drugs, or I will kill you. And the killing in Tondo began almost immediately following this speech, as we set out in our brief, paragraphs 100 to 101. I'll focus now on, and Tondo is visible on our screens. I'll focus now on incident 23, which also took place in Tondo, on or about the night of the 4th to the 5th of October 2016. As your Honours are aware, the alleged victim of this incident 23 was Benjamin Vizda. And we'll shortly see a video which shows Mr. Vizda just before midnight in a vest, in handcuffs, forced onto a motorbike between two police officers and driven away. And this is tab 76, and we'll play the video now. And we see now Mr. Vizda being forced onto the motorbike between the two police officers. And as he's being driven away, we see women and children chasing after him, no doubt terrified about what would happen next. And around 20 minutes later, Your Honours, Mr. Visda was dead, shot multiple times in the head by police officers. A witness described the scene, and Your Honours, the next slide will be a graphic image. And for reference, this is tab 77. The witness stated, quote, "The victim was lying on the street in handcuffs and was dead. He'd been shot in the head 7 or 8 times," end quote. The official account of this incident was recorded in a police report known as a spot report, dated the 5th of October 2016. This is tab 65. And this report, an extract of which is on the screen, stated that Mr. Visda was killed by the police in self-defense after he snatched the firearm of a police officer while he was on a motorbike, while wearing handcuffs, and he shot at the police but missed. Your Honours, as demonstrated by the evidence in paragraph 126 of our brief, this narrative is false. Benjamin Visda did not fight back. He was murdered. Your Honours, Project Tokang was also carried out through one-time, big-time, or OTBT operations. And these were large-scale, high-intensity police operations that often resulted in multiple murders. And one such operation took place in Bulacan, shown on our screens, between the 15th and the 16th of August 2017. In August 2017, the police made a press release regarding their recent operations, which noted that 32 people were killed by the police in simultaneous one-time, big-time operations from the 15th to the 16th of August 2017. This press release, which can be found at tab 108, is visible on our screens. In the headline, we read, quote, 32 killed, 107 arrested, as firearms, grenades, and numerous illegal drugs were seized in Bulacan, PMP, simultaneous big-time operations. I'm focusing, Your Honours, on the paragraph at the bottom of the screen. We see that the deaths of these 32 people were recorded as, quote, significant results, end quote, of the, quote, intensified campaign against illegal drugs, otherwise known as Project Double Barrel Reloaded, end quote. And this was essentially a reinvigorated version of Project Double Barrel, as set out in our brief footnote 37. And the press release goes on to name the 32 victims of this operation, which included 3 victims who are victims of charged incidents 28 and 29 in this case, who were murdered, consistent with the pattern of the other incidents in count 3, as set out in paragraphs 131 to 132 of our brief. Your Honours, 32 individuals killed by the police in Bulacan in a 24-hour period. You would imagine this would be a major national incident. So how did Mr. Duterte react to this shocking news? Let's hear what he said, and for reference, this is tab 147.
Yung namatay daw kanina sa Bulacan, 32, in a massive raid. Ganda yun. Makapatay lang tayo ng another 32 every day, then maybe we can reduce the what is this country.
So that was the president's message in response to the death of 32 Filipinos in a single day. He essentially said to the police, well done, keep going, let's kill another 32 every day. And, Your Honours, in this context, as you would expect, the killings went on and on. This phase of one-time, big-time operations continued until around the 18th of August 2017, resulting in many more deaths. As one witness stated, quote, it was hunting season, a killing spree, end quote. And that's at tab 77. And on the evening of the 16th of August, in the midst of this killing spree, perhaps at the same time as Mr. Duterte's speech in Bulacan, a 17-year-old child named Kian de los Santos was murdered in Caloocan, the location of which is marked on our screens. And this is charged incident 30. As usual, the police claimed that Kian de los Santos shot at them and they were forced to shoot him dead in self-defense. Another victim blamed for his death. As set out in our brief, paragraph 133, this account is contradicted by CCTV footage showing police dragging the child across the ground, and other evidence shows that after pleading for his life, he was shot twice in the head. And the next slide is a graphic image, Your Honours, and that's tab 151. On our screens, we see the tragic image of the body of the 17-year-old child, Kian de los Santos. And as noted in our brief, paragraph 56, this brutal murder led to a massive public outcry across the Philippines. And in these circumstances, exceptionally, the direct perpetrators of these murders were prosecuted and they were imprisoned. And in the face of this public outcry, Mr. Duterte was forced to temporarily withdraw police from drug operations from the 10th of October to the 4th of December 2017. And this led to a reduction in the frequency of killings. In announcing this temporary withdrawal, Mr. Duterte sarcastically stated that he hoped that this would satisfy, quote, bleeding hearts and the media, end quote. And in this way, he publicly communicated that this was not a genuine effort to prevent crime, but rather a temporary attempt to placate public criticism. And less than 2 months later, Mr. Duterte decided to once again scale up operations. He ordered the PNP back into the campaign, and the killings once again intensified. And Your Honours, regrettably, children continued to be the victims of these killings. Your Honours will recall that at the very start of his presidency, Mr. Duterte gave a speech in Tondo, and we saw a part of it earlier. This is tab 127 on our list of materials, and we'll watch another portion of that speech now.
Yung mga adik ho dyan, kayo na lang ho ang pumatay. Kung anak niya, ikaw ang pumatay. Kung anak niyang adik, kayo ang pumatay para hindi masyado masakit.
If it's someone's child, be the killer yourself. If someone's child is the addict, then you be the one to kill. Your Honours, it's worth pausing here, taking a step back and reflecting on what we are seeing and what we are hearing. This is the President of the Philippines, the Commander-in-Chief, the most powerful man in the Philippines. He's pointing directly at the crowd, and he is telling them to kill someone else's child. Kill them, not because they are an alleged drug lord, not even an alleged criminal, but simply because they may have an addiction to drugs. And this is an example, perhaps, of what the defense described yesterday as Mr. Duterte speaking, quote, openly from the heart, sincerely and truthfully, end quote. And that's transcript 4, page 37, lines 15 to 16. And during an earlier part of the same speech, Mr. Duterte also boasted that during his presidency, funeral homes would make a lot of money. Let's play that clip.
Sabihin ko sa inyo, itong mga panahon nitong mga araw na dadating, kung may punerarya ho kayo, kikita kayo ng husto. Kayo ko yung mga small time na punerarya dito, doon. At sigurado hindi kayo malugi. At pag humihina na ang negosyo ninyo, sabihin ko lang sa mga pulis, bilis-bilisan ninyo ng konti para kumita yung tao sa negosyo nila. Ayan, sinasabi ko na sa inyo. Hindi ako nagbibiro.
So again, here's the president assuring funeral homes that if their business declines, he will, quote, tell the police, hurry up a little so people can make money from their business, end quote. And he stressed very clearly he was, quote, not joking. And as my friend said yesterday, transcript 4, page 30, lines 18 to 19, quote, for President Roddy, his word was his word, and the people knew it, end quote. In this context, to conclude, I'll focus briefly on incidents 38 and 45. As your honours know, in the course of these incidents, which occurred during 2018, on 2 separate occasions, the police detained a child aged around 14 or 15 years old. On each occasion, the police wrapped the child's head in packing tape so no one could hear them scream, and then strangled the child to death with wire. It's difficult to imagine a more terrifying end to 2 lives that had barely even begun. And these murdered children were then sold to funeral homes who profited from their bodies, as explained in paragraphs 142 and 150 of our brief. Your Honours, dead children, police ensuring that funeral homes made money. Mr. Duterte indeed was not joking. Thank you, Your Honours. This concludes my presentation. I now hand over to Ms. Croft.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur.
Judge Motosh, thank you very much, Mr. Prosecutor, for your presentation. I think we are going to observe a break of 40 minutes up to 11:30 a.m. Thank you very much.
So, natapos na po yung unang presentasyon. Magko-comment na ako, general comment lang. Ganito po yun. So far, kung ang theory po nila, inaakusahan po si Ginoong Duterte na mastermind. Sa totoo lang, pag makita mo niyan, hindi naman ako sa pumapabor kay Duterte bilang I'm speaking as an experienced trial lawyer. Kung iyan lang po ay hindi natin masintensyan si Duterte. Bakit? Ganito. Nagsalita. Halimbawa, example lang natin, pare-pareho lang naman ang sistema eh. Yung kay Paruhinog, at saka kaya sinabi niya, kay Espinosa, ano bang binanggit niya? Binanggit niya, ipapatay niya. I-shortcut din natin, ipapatay. So, ang tanong ngayon, namatay! Doon na, ayusin na, namatay. Wala tayong magawa, namatay. Sino ba nagpapatay kay Paruhinog? Di ba si Joby Espinido? Pero si Joby Espinido, sabadista, nagpapastor-pastor pa. Nagtestigo pa yan sa nakarang hearing. So, anong gagawin natin? Ang tanong lang, tanggalin natin si Espinido sa senaryo. Kay Espinosa naman, sino naman nagpapatay? Di ba si Espinosa ay naging mayor ng Albuera, Leyte. Ngayon, sa panahon na yon, si Espinido din ang hepe. At tinanggal si Espinido, pinadala sa Usamis. Nakakatakot kaya si Espinido nung araw. So, ang tanong lang dito, si Duterte ba ang utak ng pagpapatay kay Espinosa? Kasi pinatay siya ng grupo ni Colonel Marvin Marcos. Nag-apply sila nakaasar nga eh. Nag-apply ng search warrant sa loob ng kulungan. Di ba? Wala talagang kwenta. Pero ang tanong nyo, talagang karumal-dumal yun. Talagang hindi ako sang-ayon sa patayan na yun. But the problem is, let us limit the issue. May ebidensya ba sila na si Duterte nag-utos nun? Yun lang, gano'n na kasimple tanong. Huwag na tayong dumami pang tanong. Dako na naman tayo doon mga taga-Tondo ng bandang huli na sinasabi niya. Nag-speech pa siya patungkol sa mga negosyo sa punerarya. Nagsabi siya, may namatay nga. May ebidensya ba tayo na si Duterte pumatay nun? Wala. At klaro naman tayo na hindi si Duterte pumatay nun. Ang kasunod, sino ba pumatay nun? Malamang pulis. Pero wala tayong ebidensya na pulis. Pero kasi nakapusas eh. So kung nakapusas, napatay, ibig sabihin, pulis yun ang may-ari ng pusas. So pinatay ng pulis. Yan ang klaro dyan. Unang tanong, bakit hindi po nila kinasuhan ang pulis na pumatay? Nag-operate na pulis. Yan ang tanong ko. Natatakot ba? Alam mo, sa labanan sa pagkakaso, ang takot sa sabihin lang ng piskalya, ang takot ay nasa isip dapat. Ba't hindi kayo nagreklamo? Kung nangyari ang pagreklamo kay Kian de los Santos na nasintensyahan ang mga pulis, bakit hindi kayo nagreklamo? Tapos, ang tanong, eventually, karumal-dumal, walang question, karumal-dumal ang patay na nangyari. But the real issue here is si Duterte ang kinakasuhan. Hindi ibang pulis na pumatay. May ebidensya ba tayo para magsabi na si Duterte nag-utos nun? Ganun na kasimple rin ang tanong. Sa lahat ng patayan, sa lahat ng ebidensya pinisenta nila. Anong ebidensya pinisenta nila? Yung clipping na mayabang si Duterte, ipapatay ko kayo, papatay ko kayo. Magbanggit pa ng pangalan, binanggit pa pangalan ni Rolando Espinosa, binanggit ang pangalan ni Rolando Paruhinog. Pwede ba natin masabi, masintensya natin si Duterte? Kasi ang akusasyon sa kanya, indirect co-perpetrator. Ibig sabihin ng indirect co-perpetrator, isang salita niyan na ginagamit kapalit ng tinatawag sa Pilipinas na mastermind. Ang tinatawag yan sa eksaktong pangalan sa Revised Penal Code ay principal by induction. Nag-induce. Ang mga gumamit, yan ang mga principal by direct participation. Yan ang tawag sa Pilipinas. Pero tawag sa ICC, hindi principal by inducement, kundi co-perpetrator, indirect co-perpetrator. Kasi sa kanila, yung actual na pumatay, ang tawag nila perpetrator. At kung marami nag-perpetrate ng crime, ang tawag nila co-perpetrator. Ang hirap pagpatunay, no? Dito na nila ngayon na-realize na lahat ng ebidensya pinakita nila ay pagtatawanan lang po yan ng judge. Hindi po yan ebidensya. So dapat, ano ang hinahanap ko ebidensya para sabihin natin na si Duterte ay guilty? Dapat may testigo o may ebidensya sila na ipapakita na specific kada patay. Kailangan specific kada patay. Halimbawa kay Rolando Espinosa, mayroon tayong ipapakitang ebidensya na specific si Duterte ang nag-utos kay Colonel Marvin Marcos na patayin mo si Espinosa. Meron ba? Pwede nating sabihin, si Bato ang nagpapatay nun eh. Di ba? Walang ebidensya eh. Pero hindi natin pwede sabihin na talagang siya. Pero pwede natin sabihin na si Duterte rin ang papatay nun. Ang level ng ebidensya ay hanggang sa pwede siya. Pero ang sa batas po ng krimen, hindi mo pwede magamit ang salitang pwede. Kailangan walang duda. Ang sentensya po sa ICC ay nagbabase rin sa tinatawag na proof beyond reasonable doubt. Kagaya rin po sa Pilipinas. So with that, alam mo, nakikiramay ako sa mga biktima. Kaya si Pastor Geoffrey, sinisisi niya, ikaw ay ano ka dati, nagtutulong ka sa mga ganon. Pastor Geoffrey, hiwalay po yung issue kung meron tayong ebidensya. But the problem is, the hard evidence is, we have no evidence. Yung mga gawa-gawain na yon, ang naniwala ko talaga dyan, ganito lang yan. Una, tumalab ang depensa ni Attorney Kaufman. Ano sabi ni Attorney Kaufman? Ano lang ho lahat yan, pananakot lang. Wala namang kasalanan ang kahit sinong tao na gusto mananakot. Pwede ko sabihin ko ako sa Attorney Kaufman, look at Donald Trump. What Donald Trump is talking about? He's even saying that he will invade Greenland. Pananakot na ni Donald Trump yun. Ganun po yan. Hindi ba ginagawa ni Donald Trump na yung mga immigrant, kahit illegal pa, na kinukuha at kinukuha? Ba crime against humanity rin yun? Ganun po yun. So dapat matututo tayo ebidensya. Iba, isang bagay, yung sinususpitsahan mo, siyang pumatay. So pwede tayo mag-rally, turo ni Duterte hanggang kritisismo. Pero, pagdating naman sa konsentensya na, kung ang purpose mo o pakay mo ay ikukulong ba o hindi, ibang usapin yan. Pero kung ang purpose mo ay pang politika lamang, pang kritisismo lamang, bilang isa kang madikhaing mamamayan, walang problema yan. You can shout to the whole world and say your accusations. Kasi po mga mamamayan, hindi po hinahanapan ng matinding ebidensya ang mga mamamayan pag magsalita siya na si BBM ay magnanakaw. The only way na si BBM at saka Duterte magrereklamo kung inakusan sila is kung hindi sila opisyal ng bayan. Kung private person sila, pwede sila kumaso ng libel o pagsisinungaling. Pero kung umupo kayo sa pesto, wala kayong kawala sa tinatawag na mga mapanuring bibig, mata, ilong, at tainga ng mga mamamayan. So in this case, very clear po, isa lang po ang ibig sabihin nito. Kahit ano pa pong sabihin, kaya Pastor Geoffrey, wala po tayong ebidensya na magpapakita na si Duterte ang nagpapatay nun. Wala tayong ebidensya na si Duterte ang nagutos nun. Kahit ang sabi, ipapatay ko kayo, wala tayong ebidensya. Iba po, ulitin ko lang, iba yung ebidensya na hinahanap. Ang mga abogado na nakikinig sa akin, naintindihan nila yan. Ang mga pulis na nakikinig sa akin, naintindihan nila yan. Pero yung mga anti-Duterte, hindi magagalit talaga sa akin yan. Ito magiging fair lang tayo. Sasabihin ko sa iyo ang katotohanan. Ako'y naniniwala, si Duterte ay talagang dapat siyang nagpaikot nitong lahat. Pero hanggang paikot lamang. Kailangan patunayan pa natin na talagang kada pagpatay, hindi po pwede general, maglatag ka ng 6,000 na pinatay. O si Duterte na pumatay yan. At i-presenta mong ebidensya yung mga sinabi sa TV. Pagtawanan po kayo. Sigurado ako kung ganito lang pong ebidensya ninyo, matatapos lang itong 4 na araw ng confirmation charges, ibabasura yan ng ICC. Kasi so far, nanood tayo, wala pa namang ebidensya sila pinakita. Directly linking Duterte to the crime. Ang atin lang dyan, maari nga. Hanggang doon lang tayo, maari nga siya. Pero wala. Kasi general, napansin nyo ba general ang statement ni Duterte? Ang tawag niya sweeping statement. Wala siyang specific na pinagpatuloy maliban na namang binanggit yung pangalan ni Rolando Espinosa, parehong Rolando, tsaka si Rolando Paruhinog. Itanong natin kay Joby Espinido. Asa na si Joby Espinido? Colonel Joby Espinido, alam ko nag-retire ka na eh. Bakit hindi ipatawag sa ICC si Joby Espinido? At ang alam mo dyan, kasabwat pa si Governor Henry Sibilia Uwaminal dyan eh. Bakit? Kasi gusto niya maging mayor sila sa Osamis. Sa Misamis Occidental. Kaya naging gobernador ngayon si Henry Sibilia Uwaminal. Kasama rin dyan si Ando, yung anak niya. Ay, isa pang anak niya. Biro mo na silang umupo na. Lahat ng distrito nakuha na nila. Ang style kasi ni Henry Sibilia Uwaminal, kung bakit na-control niya yan, hoy! Makinig kayo mga taga-Misamis Occidental. Paminaw mo tanan para aron mahibaw-an ninyo og giunsa mo sa pagliba. O pagtunto sa inyuhan ni Gobernador Uwaminal. Kada eleksyon ang ginagawa niya ganito. Lahat, magugrupo siya, lahat ng kandidato niya. Itong aking konsehal, lahat. Itong aking mayor, itong aking vice mayor. Itong aking congressman. Ang ginagawa niya, kukunan niya tag 1 million bawat isa. Hawak niya ng pera. Tapos, mamimili sila ng boto, wholesale. Lahat ng botante, ito, bigyan kita ng 10,000. Lahat yan, boto nyo. Ganun sistema. Kaya dapat, kontrahin nyo na yan. Dapat hindi na maulit. Dapat sa 2020 election, Governor Sibilya Uminal. May araw ka rin. Mas matindi pa ang gago si Uminal kumpara kay Duterte. So, it is very clear. Wala tayong ebidensya laban kay Duterte so far. Pero naawa ako sa mga biktima. Sino pumatay? Pwede rin po pumatay dyan ay yung mga pulis mismo na nasa drugs. Bakit? Kasi kapag hindi napatayin, pwede mo sabihin kapag hindi napatayin, ay tutuga yan at ituro yung mga pulis na mga protektor. Eh di ba? Alam nyo naman na maraming protektor na mga pulis. Hindi pa pumasok si Duterte sa lagang hindi naman natin siguro maalis sa katotohanan. Nung wala pa si Duterte, ay kaliwat kanan ang droga sa Pilipinas. Ganun po kasimple. Tapos, mag-imbestiga kayo. Maraming mga pulis, lalo na ng EDSOT dati, yung mga pulis sa anti-drugs, grabe yan sila. Kaya, yan po ang totoo. With this, I'm sorry, Pastor Jeffrey, I'm sorry, kung si Duterte pag-usapan, wala pong ebidensya so far na lumabas. Yun na lang ang pinakamalakas nila. Ay, matulog na lang sila. So maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.